Ladies and gentlemen, anybody want to tell me just what in the BBL?
We're talking about BBL now.
Yeah.
Whew. My BBL was actually lit.
That my butt is real, then I will happily do it.
I got my BBL surgery done by a company. It turned out to be something I wouldn't do again.
Where you see it swelling, that's
still visible through the leg.
yeah. So exactly where you see it swelling, that's where all the bruises was.
Unfortunately, studies have now shown that it has the highest mortality rate.
Literally living and dying for Nyash. Who would have guessed how prominent that bar would have become?
It's her butt. Look how big it got. It's fake.
I'm sorry, what?
Okay guys, so today's episode will be on BBLs, cosmetic surgery. The main focus of the episode will be BBLs, the Brazilian butt lift, the fat transfer from one's stomach to one's buttocks, Nyash, gluteus maximus, whatever you want to call it. That's what we're talking about. Just want to say this, it's not always the stomach. It can be different areas, but typically it's the stomach, the abdominal region, from what I've researched. But before we get into that, like, comment, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you don't miss an episode, and let's get to it. Okay guys, we are constantly exposed by Nyash. Bundas. Ass. So many different names to talk about the posterior region, and its growth, literally and figuratively, has been exemplified, exaggerated through social media. And we're going to go through different cases, different people who have gone through the BBL, their experiences, and for the balance of in the interest of fairness, we'll talk about some people who've had good experiences and some people who've had bad experiences, complications, and la-di-da-di-da-di-da. So I was watching this documentary it had YasminPink, Renee, and I thought we'll start with Yasmin's experience because she was someone who, despite the complications, came across as if she was fairly comfortable with the experience. But I want you to see it for yourself.
The waist that I've already got, the breast that I've already got, I still happen to tweak those parts on my pictures because I still go on social media and I look at myself, I look at them and I'm like, well, I don't look like that in the picture. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? But I think that's something that everybody goes through to a certain degree.
So take me through the actual surgery procedure. Was it a quick and easy process? Like what was the actual procedure?
So if we're talking about BBL now, my BBL was actually lit. Like I was back in work like less than 2 weeks. Like I sat on my bum the next day.
Oh.
I did my surgery abroad in Turkey. I found a doctor through a clinic online. I met him in person though. It wasn't like an online consultation. He actually had his consultations here in the UK.
Dr. Carlton from Turkey, Istanbul. I'm glad to be here between these two beautiful ladies. Very happy that we made them happy.
When you get to Turkey, you do like a pre-op assessment. You meet with your nurses, you meet with your doctors, you have a place to stay. They also explain the procedure to you as well, do you understand? It's a very complex procedure, so I'm not going to really get into it.
As with a lot of surgery, it doesn't go 100% as planned. And Yasmin did mention some complications she had with her surgery.
I'm always talking about, oh, my body's lit, but I've had complications as well. In fact, I've just recently seen a breast clinic because I thought I found like a lump in my breast. I've got some weird stuff that they sent me today, but like basically one of my implants has ruptured. It's all complicated and I have to do something called an MIR scan. So, emotionally it can be draining. Even if you've done surgery 4 years ago, 5 years ago, once you've put like something like silicone or plastic in the body, that can definitely come back to bite you. Social media has created this new image, this new world that was not here about 5-10 years ago. Do you know what I mean?
What I find interesting is that despite Yasmin saying the body was lit and she loved it and the experience was great, she had complications. She had complications with her breast, with the silicone, there being a rupture, potentially could lead to breast cancer, having to have an MRI. I believe it was okay in the end. I believe so. I'm not sure. However, she was still saying the power and the impact of social media, discussing that it was very much played a very key role in her decision making for going towards plastic surgery, still playing a key role in how she herself viewed her own beauty, editing pictures, because she's not feeling that it matched what she was seeing online, which goes to show you guys that there is no magic pill for beauty and acceptance of yourself other than the internal work to accept yourself. Secondly, and I gotta add this, the Turkish guy in the video looked dodgy as fuck, and I know there was a beef with Renee and her. I don't really want to get into it, it's an old issue. The video appears to be about at least 3 years old, if not longer. However, the guy looked dodgy as fuck. She did go to Turkey, and there's always a risk when you go abroad with less regulations, less stringent laws on how to do the procedure, that it could be potentially more harmful. And the problem is with the UK, it costs more. And secondly, I think they have a little less, they're a bit stricter with how they remove the fat from the abdominal region into the bump region. They're less extreme. So without further ado though, let's move on to our next case study. Renee herself, who wasn't as comfortable with the procedure. Actually, before we get on to that, I just want to say this about Yasmin. Yasmin herself did at times, if you watch the documentary, I'll put a link in the description, she did at times seem a little bit defensive. Overall, she seemed to have an element of peace and acceptance of the surgery and her going through that, while Renee was a little bit more pissed off. However, let's see what Renee said for herself.
So how would you describe the pain in your thigh? Is it
Throbbing pain.
throbbing?
Yeah, it's like 8 out of 10.
So how would you say it's affected you and your life?
It's affected me because where I've got businesses, like my hair company and all these things, like I used to be able to go out and ship orders out. I can't do that anymore, so I've got an assistant that does that for me. And it's like, I can't like go parties like that, because when you go to a party, you're there to a couple of hours. Me, I don't know when it's gonna hit me. Do you get it? So I have to kind of be more safe. And I was just like, why are they bruised? Because usually when you take something from that area, it's bruised. Or when you put something in that area, it goes bruised up.
So where exactly did you see this bruise?
Right here, like all here. Exactly where you see it swelling.
Oh wow, so
That's
still visible through the leg.
Yeah. So exactly where you see it swelling, that's where all the bruises was. Every single bruise was there.
After your second surgery, did you get the perfect body that you wanted? Did they achieve what you wanted?
I feel like after every single 3, no, they didn't. I wasn't left feeling satisfied. I was always complaining about something wasn't right, this wasn't right. I had complications. I wasn't sure about something wasn't looking right to me. And every time I messaged them, it's normal.
So how did that make you feel? Like, tell me how it made you feel going all the way up there, traveling to Turkey, and always coming back basically feeling kind of empty. Like,
you know what it is, yeah? Honestly speaking, it was just exhausted. I was so exhausted and tired, because it's like you've done 3 procedures in a bloody year, like 2 years basically, I think it is now. So you've done 3. I was really knackered. I was tired. I was frustrated. I just wanted it over and done with, and it still isn't.
The thing I like about Renee is she seemed extremely honest, borderline vulnerable, if I'm being real. On top of that, she discusses something that typically you find online, although online you will find the worst case scenarios, the most exaggerated scenarios, and the videos that you've seen from the montage will be the most exaggerated. The problem with that is that the picture makes people believe that the exaggerated look is the look. However, what Renee said that I liked was the honesty, the fact that she received complications, the way she was treated by the surgeons abroad. One thing I'll say to anyone who does any sort of surgery, whether that be cosmetic or any sort of surgery, once you open yourself up to surgery, you'll always be left with complications. Foreign objects are entering your body. There are transfers, there's liposuction, there's movement. There is, when I've had my knee surgeries, I've had metal put into my knee. There's going to be complication because they are objects that are not supposed to be in your body that are in your body. So there will always be complications with that. So there is an element of normalcy to it. Hence why I think the doctor said it was normal. Maybe he was referring to the swelling. I don't know. I'm not a doctor. I don't know anything. I'm just going off what I've seen. However, her treatment seemed bad. The swelling was quite bad as well. And Renee was quite honest and open that social media is what dictated her hair. It wasn't worth the risk. And she's trying to push people away from following these trends. People will follow Renee and think, well, Renee's done it, the Kardashians done it, why don't I do it? And we have to look at the genesis of this. We have to look at what really started the BBL craze.
Why did we see this trend? And I think there was two main reasons. One was, again, the icons of somewhat beauty in social media, like the Kardashians and a lot of other people on social media were showing bigger and bigger butts. And so it set this trend of that was the ideal shape of the body. And then I think number two was an improvement in the techniques of creating bigger butts. So in the past, the main procedure for butt augmentation was a butt implant. And that procedure was fraught with complications and issues. There was a large scar to put in the implant. The implant could only be put in one location. It shaped the butt somewhat, but it also gave the appearance of what we call like a bubble butt, where the implants would be kind of not blended with the rest of the butt. And then there was risk of the implants extruding, getting infected, moving. So the procedure never really got extremely popular. Now what changed was the procedures improved. We came up with the BBL, or the Brazilian butt lift, and that involved taking fat from somewhere else in the body through liposuction and injecting into the butt. Now this procedure was scarless. It didn't come with the implants, it didn't come with the wrists, it didn't come with all the long-term issues with the implant shifting or changing. So the procedure really advanced, and as we improved the ability of the fat to live and take, the procedure became more and more popular.
The reason I placed that video there is just so you understand what inspired the Yasmins and Renees to do it. It is the beauty icons of the time, and they are still beauty icons now, doing it themselves, whether that's the Kardashian, Nicki Minaj, or Madonna's even got one now. It just goes to show how far these BBLs are going. They've infected and incepted so many different fragments of society that it really is what people believe the beauty standard is. And I say this about beauty standards, they're shifting scales, constantly moving scales, and trends, short-standing trends. We'll get onto that later. However, the BBL itself, the procedures have improved, but there's still a high element of risk. Still the most likelihood of death, I believe, in any sort of procedure, definitely cosmetic. And also, like I said, the social media validation, which Renee spoke about, which Yasmin spoke about, these validations that we get from social media is so critical, so vital. But what is the chemicals? What leads people into thinking that social media validation is important to that extent where you're altering your body?
Just how triggering are our phones when it comes to dopamine?
Okay, great question. We often hear that, that social media getting dopamine hit after dopamine hit. When we first get on social media for the first time or after a long period of time, the amount of dopamine that's released we think is quite substantial. It's novel. Remember, dopamine is about novelty, surprise, and the sense that we are on some exciting track. That's what dopamine is really about. It puts us into states of readiness, anticipation, looking, seeking, etc., almost always for things outside the confines of our skin. So I look at social media as initially being very dopaminergic, driving reward, surprise, and excitement, but very quickly transitioning to something more like OCD and the kinds of behaviors where it looks, if we were to look at ourselves through the lens of an experiment like we would an animal experiment, we think that animal is sick. If you saw an animal digging in the corner, looking for a bone, the dog is looking, you'd think that's really sad. That's us.
Why that clip to me is so powerful and so important is Andrew Huberman is a neuropsychologist, so he's an expert in the field, and he's always talking about dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin, how to release this, how to release that. And I think it's important because when you look at the two people I mentioned today, Renee, Yasmin, and there'll be other people, Sinead from BBC, her documentary, you'll find that commonly they constantly talk about social media. Yasmin herself said that.
So how would you describe your life after your surgery? Obviously, other than an increase in male attention, what would you say, how was the quality of life after?
Yeah, the usual increase in male attention. My likes have gone up, can't lie. Followers have gone up. My confidence, I thought I had confidence before, even in the body that I had before. But when I got my body done, it just really boosted my confidence and how I see myself, and things that I was never able to purchase in the past, I was able to buy. I had my first girls holiday trip. You know, I'm wearing all my bikinis and stuff, you know, I'm doing all them beach photos, you know, and for me, that was a big deal.
And as you can see, Yasmin, when she was asked about what was her experience after getting a BBL, the first thing she said, outside of the male attention, which was actually said for her, was more followers, more likes. Like, that is a barometer of success. I get that Yasmin is a sort of influencer, and I really don't want this to make this about tearing her down or tearing them down. It's not that at all. It's just to show and exemplify that so much of what people do, they judge the success of it by the interaction and likes that they get online. They go through these procedures for interaction, likes and attention online, and it forms a sort of a validation, attention. That's what you feel when you get it, and you get that dopamine surge. However, like Andrew was saying, it's not even real. Half the people that are liking yourself don't like you, don't know you, are just double tapping. Secondly, those followers, you probably won't speak to them, see them ever, at least half, and that is at best half. That's at best. Especially for someone like Yasmin, who's probably in the tens of thousands of followers, which in the grand scheme of things is not a lot. Coming from me, that's rich. But my whole point is, it's not even a lot by social media terms, and it's not a lot of people that she's going to meet from there. The attention and validation isn't even real. And despite that, like Andrew said, it's like an OCD, it's an over-compulsion, that constantly looking for perfection in your body. You have sculpted your body, you have changed your body. Renee, Yasmin, both were left feeling unsatisfied, both feeling like they needed to edit their pictures. In Yasmin's case, around her breast region, Renee constantly questioning, constantly going back. It's something that's missed out from the discussion of a BBL. People seem to think it's a magic bullet, changes your life forever, and it's a constant procedure, like Botox, like lip filler as well. It's not something that you do once or twice. It's something that you have to keep doing. Like most procedures, when you do a surgery, you have to keep going back. With my knee, it's something that I have to constantly get checked. It is constant, and it's removed from the discussion because it's sold as a magic bullet. We as human beings are naturally lazy, and we do look for the shorter term solution. And the longer term solution is love yourself, not just like some of the documentaries say, go to the fucking gym. It's a lot more than that. However, like Andrew said, that search for dopamine, that reward system that you get from the likes and the followers.
The thing about social media is that social media as a whole exploits the human need for belonging and acceptance. You see, human beings crave attention because it validates our existence. A lot of people say they don't want attention, but that's not entirely true. Attention is such an underrated drug, and the catalyst for the addiction and craving for attention is social media, and most people don't even realize it. Just think about it, right? You can control the perception of yourself and create this perfect avatar in the eyes of others, all behind that 6x2-inch screen that you're probably holding right now. So then you gotta ask, where does this need for attention come from? Why do we want to be validated by strangers so badly? Is it in human nature to want to be loved and accepted by any means necessary? People care so much, far too much as a matter of fact, to a point where it's destroying them mentally. If you've ever posted a photo on social media, right? I bet those next few hours is you waiting on those likes and comments and seeing if certain people liked it, and seeing what kind of ass-kissing comments you get from people you hardly even know. That makes you feel good, it validates your self-worth, it fills your craving for attention, and it validates your existence and your need for belonging. But in reality, a few minutes later, no one cares about your picture, and then you repeat the cycle. Comments and likes on your social medias from people you hardly even know isn't gonna solve your internal problems, or fill that void inside of you. Everyone is so desperately seeking this attention and validation and love from this medium, this fake, distorted world, falling deeper and deeper into it, and not even realize why they're seeking that feeling. It's literally a drug. You get these momentary pleasures like getting a high or a shot of dopamine from the validation and attention, but it's also slowly damaging you in ways that you can't come back from. Although I'm still young, I can say this for sure, and this goes for every single person on this earth. You can never fill what's internal with what's external. Never forget that. And it's such an endless cycle because social media itself is not only the perfect place to seek attention, rather it's what drives the need for attention as well.
Revalidates that what you're doing is right, it stems you on the right course, and then when you get the attention in real life, you think it's a great thing, even though we have to ask, what kind of attention are you getting? The Kardashians, the Pamela Andersons of the world, the Katie Prices of the world, who Katie Price herself spoke out against it. What kind of attention were they getting? It was probably the most lustful, most degenerate sort of attention, because it's the easiest to get. Like fast food, fast attention is the easiest to get, but has the shortest lifespan, and it's like empty calories. People are objectifying you, and when you're objectified, you are treated like an object. And watch how people really treat objects. You're better than that. Hold yourself in a higher light. However, social media has become the barometer for the beauty standard, and beauty standards, and women following beauty standards, men following beauty standards. I have dread. This
nigga got dreads. Be honest, he got dreads. Oh, niggas acting oblivious. I bet.
It's common. You know,
everybody got dreads.
Nigga, I don't give a fuck. Get him the fuck out of here, nigga. Nigga, I told a nigga, I don't give a fuck what you gotta say, nigga. I told you, I said the next nigga that got dreads, get the fuck out of here, man. Fuck you, nigga. Fuck you.
So I get it. We all follow beauty standards to an extent, but how far are you going to follow these beauty standards? Especially that the icons and the people that are following the standards themselves, or who have set the barometer for the standards, don't know what the fuck they're doing. Don't even look the way you think they look.
The early Renaissance era. The artists of the Renaissance wanted to move away from the modesty and strict religious values of the Middle Ages. They again began to appreciate pleasure, fertility, and youth. The idealized women of artists like Raphael were commonly curvy, with pale but slightly flushed cheeks and soft, round faces. An article published in the Journal of Cosmetic Dermatology reveals Raphael's admission that most of his paintings were not based on real models, simply his imagining of what a beautiful woman would look like. This was the beginning of a transition from simply considering women to be objects of fertility to objects of lust and beauty. What is perfect? These days, we're stepping into an age where the media is beginning to celebrate diversity of race and body type, though there's still a long way to go. Before New York Fashion Week 2017, the Council of Fashion Designers of America sent out a memo to remind designers to seek out healthy models and a wider range of types, saying, New York Fashion Week is also a celebration of our city's diversity, which we hope to see on the runways. The thing to remember is that most of the historical standards of beauty were based on a drawing or a painting of some guy's fantasy. Nowadays, Photoshop and other editing software has the same effect, making already petite models look unattainably perfect. You can't possibly live up to a fictional piece of art or a masterfully altered photograph. Since standards have changed so much over history, it proves that these standards are really just temporary ideals. So what if your body isn't considered perfect today? Who cares? Perfect is an illusion that no one can attain. So, be happy with the body you have.
And the reason I placed this video there about the beauty standards is that so often people forget that beauty standards in part is for the male gaze, not all the time. You know, there's different clips and different examples where the beauty standards were more practical, were due to the Depression era where women wore more relaxed and laid back clothes. There's eras where women wore more androgynous clothes as well. However, you can see in the Renaissance era, there was depictions of women which became the beauty standards because these pictures were looked at as the most beautiful pictures in the world. And it turned out, as you could see from the clip, that in reality, they were just male's fantasy. And it's like that with these exaggerated bums, these exaggerated hips, these exaggerated breasts, these exaggerated lips. They are built from male's fantasy. And if you actually speak to most men, they will tell you they don't like the exaggerated look. Although they may give it attention, it'll be low grade attention. However, when a person lacks self-esteem, self-love, they will take any attention. Insecurities will be filled by in any sort of way because it's an insatiable hunger. It's a black hole that needs to be filled. And the thing about a black hole is it's actually a wormhole and it can never be filled. Sorry, I went down a nerdy path. However, I wanted to bring that up about the beauty standards that typically people will say, oh, I did it for myself or I did it for this. But the first thing some people say, not just Yasmin, I'm really trying not to just pick on her, but they will talk about, oh no, I love myself more, I'm more comfortable with myself more. Although Yasmin did say that about buying stuff that she never would buy. Talk about the followers that they got, the likes that they got, the attention that they got.
Because I was always on social media and I was just a bit insecure about my weight. I was going gym in the beginning. I feel like gym was helping me, but then I was just so lazy. I couldn't be asked to go gym. I gave up. Then I was
again, learn to accept your body for what it is. I'm not going to tell you hit the fucking gym or don't do a BBL. I'm not going to do that because you will do what you need to do, but learn that at some point you need to accept you for you. You can't keep altering.
How long does it last? Because, you know, a lot of patients think they get it one time, they're good. Well, no, if you don't continue that healthy lifestyle, it's not as simple. Can you elaborate a little bit on that?
Well, I think the issue with the BBL too is that some doctors are injecting massive quantities of fat into the buttocks. Now, when you're young and you've got young, tight skin, and somebody injects a liter of fat into each butt cheek, your skin may be good to hold that up. But as we all know, as we get older, that skin gets looser and those ligamentous connections get stretched out and they're not as strong and taut as they used to be. And what we don't have are examples of how women are 20 years later, 25 years later, after a Brazilian butt lift, where a liter or a liter and a half of fat has been injected into their butt. How's it going to look like at that point? Is your butt going to be sagging over the backs of your thighs? What's it going to look like? You have to, whenever you consider these procedures, really take into account kind of, how you're going to be later on. It's funny because I get patients who are in their 30s who want cosmetic treatments, and they say, oh, when I'm 40, I won't care how I look. And then people who they're 40, they go, oh, when I'm 60, I won't care how I look. And then I get people who are 60, like, oh, when I'm 75, I won't care. We always care.
See, that's the thing about this video that I found the most interesting, and what made me and inspired me to do it is that we don't have any barometer for what people will look like with these exaggerated BBLs in 10, 20, 30 years time. We don't know how they look, but what you find is the Pamela Andersons, the Katie Prices of the world are saying don't do it. It's not worth it, because they're people who have had these procedures for long standing periods of time, and they themselves are aware that it's not worth it in the long run. The constant procedures of constantly going under the knife, which is somewhat something you want to avoid in general anyway, going under the knife too many times when you open yourself up. Again, like Andrew Huberman said, it's like an over-compulsion, an obsession. It triggers the need for perfection. That's the search, and the journey for perfection is the search and the journey for failure and depression. You're never going to find perfection. And also the robustness of people's body. What once was good 20 years ago doesn't work for your body 20 years later. For someone in their 20s and someone in their 40s, they're going to look at their bodies radically different and want different things. Not just to talk about people in their 60s about what they want from their bodies. And I think too often when we talk about these procedures, we don't talk about the long-term effect of them and this new trend of the reversal BBL.
What I'll say about that again is that I'm not a huge fan of trends or fads in surgery, because the extreme looks eventually will go out of style. In some cases, when they're really extreme, they're difficult to correct or sometimes impossible to correct. So that's the reason I tell people, again, steer away from those trends. And as we can see now, the trend is switching, so we're going to probably be seeing a lot more of this reversal trend in the near future. Overall, I think it's a good trend this time to see celebrities sort of reversing extreme surgeries and reversing these extreme BBLs, or any extreme surgery for that matter. As they say, a butt on a stick is not a great look, and it's not going to age well. That's the other thing. So similar to the extremely large breasts we were seeing maybe in the 80s and 90s, where women went really large with their breast implants, over time it didn't age well. They started to droop and sag, and they needed to go with smaller implants, and then they needed breast lifts with scars. It led to a lot of problems, and I think we're going to start seeing a similar trend with the butts that were overly extremely done. Also, like I said, they have to be careful, because some patients don't realize with weight gain, with pregnancy, other things, because it is fat, it can change and get even bigger.
Further exemplifies and proves this point that these trends are not something that people should follow. These trends may be something to like, laugh, talk about, but these trends that we look at with the BBLs, they soon come to an end. Of course that did rhyme, because I'm me. However, the Kardashians are now doing reverse BBLs. I think it's Kim and Khloe. I believe Nicki Minaj has spoke about doing a reduction to her bum as well. You've got Pamela Anderson, Katie Price. They're all people who have engaged in reduction surgeries, once promoting the exaggerated look and now going down the reduction route. And like the videos and the clips I've played showed, it's in part due to the aging process, the elasticity in your body and fat losing its robustness, and it not being safe to have such an exaggerated look. Two, realizing that the exaggerated look is a touch ridiculous. Thirdly, probably an element of wisdom, understanding that the beauty standard that you're searching for is a fallacy. And fourthly, I hope some self-acceptance, and I hope when people see this that they learn to accept themselves more. And I would extend this to Botox and lip filler too.
A lot of patients come in after having dermal fillers to their tear troughs many years ago, and they come back sometimes 6-7 years later, and they have this puffiness under their eyes, this bulge. And most of the time, the patients don't think it's a filler. They think the filler's gone many years ago. This is just me getting old. I'm getting baggy, puffy eyes now. I often suggest to my patients that we should put some dissolver in, or hyaluronidase, which is a filler dissolver. So we do that, and almost miraculously, this bulge, which has been there for many, many years, has all of a sudden disappeared. This is a clear indication to me that that bulge was actually filler that had been sitting there for the past 6, 7, 8 years. And this is a bit unusual because we're told that the fillers last only 6 to 12 months, for example. And the reason why we've been looking into this more so of late is that we've had some patients, especially with filler around the eyes, which has been resilient to dissolving and has been there for a long time. We've sent them for an MRI. And what these MRIs are showing is that the filler is lasting for a lot longer than we think.
See that droopy look, that kind of almost melted look that comes from these different injections, whether that be the filler and Botox or the filler to the lips. They leave a scarring. They can potentially, with the Botox, I believe he was talking about, leave a baggage underneath the eyeball as well. It's not discussed enough, and that's something that's irritating. Although there is information, accessible information, too often it's looked as a silver bullet, like I've been saying, as a cure and to skirt the anti-aging process, which is nothing new. And we shouldn't really denigrate anyone for doing that, because we all in some sort of way engage in the anti-aging process. It's not discussed what the after effects are with Botox and lip filler. There's a lot of scarring to it. I've seen women who have engaged in lip filler a lot, love them to pieces. Some of them are my friends, some of them administer as well. There is scarring to it.
Filler, right? For people, it's not like I only do surgery. So I do offer that as well. But I think people need to understand, just like, you're rightfully scared of a scar, from a lip lift. But I think people aren't always told about what could happen with just filler, even just one-time filler. Every time you put the needle into a very delicate area like the lip, you can cause, you do cause some degree of scar tissue, like a tract of scar, right? Needle goes in, needle comes out, and then the body needs to repair that area. So it causes a little bit of scarring. But imagine getting those injections time after time, every 6 to 8 months, and each time it's leaving a little bit of a track mark. So that someone's asking, when do you start seeing that type of scarring? It's hard to say. It's different for every person. I mean, for sure, if someone just goes one time and gets a conservative injection of filler, it's not necessarily going to cause, that scarring to develop. But over time, it definitely can.
And just be aware of that. And I don't want this just to become an echo chamber of my own thought, because there'll be people regardless who are going to engage in this. There are going to be people regardless who will. However, even when it comes to things like the gym, one of the documentaries I took the clips from says, just get your ass in the gym.
If you want to play it safe, just get your ass in the gym.
It's deeper than that, because even if you go to the gym, you can end up developing body dysmorphia, where you're constantly chipping away and tucking away at these little imperfections that are impossible to go away. Once you get rid of one thing you dislike, there's another thing that you dislike that popped up. We have to learn to self-love ourselves and self-acceptance.
If there's one thing I'm willing to bet on, it's myself. Beyonce. As we've been told time and time again, having the most fulfilling life starts with yourself. Loving yourself means getting to the place where you'll bet on yourself every single day. But is it truly important to love oneself? Can't you live your life without all the touchy-feely, fuzzy self-love stuff? According to a study written by psychology professor Dr. Hans Krishner and colleagues, loving oneself turns off the threat response and places the body in a feeling of safety and relaxation, which is necessary for regeneration and healing. Research conducted by Dr. Kristen Neff and colleagues also showed that people who love themselves experience fewer depressive symptoms. Sometimes loving yourself does not occur immediately. It's a journey. Nevertheless, it is something worth fighting for, and it begins with becoming mindful of your relationship with yourself. Can you relate to any of the signs? Let us know in the comment section below, and remember, you matter.
And the reason I put that Psych to Go video there is just so you could see that underneath it all, there's just a child that wants to be accepted and loved. And so often as a child, we were told we were perfect, we're amazing, we love you so much, you are perfect the way you are. And the world makes us question ourselves, question what we do, are we enough? And the thing that was most worrying for me was in one of the clips was, it was people of color that were most likely to die from the surgery as well.
Unfortunately, studies have now shown that it has the highest mortality rate, death rate, in all of plastic surgery. There was a study that showed that literally 1 in 3,000 women who undergo this surgery die from it.
And these are healthy pre-screened women. So these
are
aren't
healthy, these are young women,
folks.
and often they're young women of color.
And we're most likely to follow trends and beauty standards because we feel the most ostracized. And as social pack animals, we want to fit in, we want to be accepted, we want to be loved. So I just wish, and it was kind of sad for me to see that as well, keeping it real. I'm like, fucking hell, how many times am I going to talk about people of color, black people being the most likely to die, the most underprivileged? Like, fucking hell, society, cut us a fucking break. However, I want to wrap this up. Self-love is important in this. Self-acceptance is important in this. There is no magic bullets, and people who are listening to this who are going to do it anyway, just understand that you're never going to strive to perfect. You're never going to get perfect. Enjoy the journey, enjoy the improvement. Accept the fact that you may have done surgery and regretted it now, and just accept that that was a part of your journey. If you're never going to do it and you love yourself the way you are, hey, teach us about it. Leave a comment. If you're considering it and you're scared of being judged but you really want to do it, I would say, do your research first and foremost. Understand that the surgery itself is not a silver bullet. There is no cure for a healthy lifestyle. There's no way around a healthy lifestyle. Even if you take all these cosmetic surgery, whether it's Botox, lip filler, BBLs, you still need to have a healthy lifestyle. You still need to look after yourself, and there's no way around that. So being lazy, like Renee said in the clip, doesn't solve it at all. Be aware that you still need to engage in that, and is the surgery worth it alongside that as well? If it is for you, go right ahead, love yourself for it. If it isn't, love yourself for not going through it and having the resilience to tell yourself no. Social media is a lie, a fantasy, an exaggeration of the truth. We all engage in some sort of beauty standard. The anti-aging process is as long as time itself. It even stems to Kangas Khan, who once tried to find immortality, I believe. And yeah, he, as soon as they told him that the way to gain immortality or slow down his death process was to stop having sex with women, he then went and bred up 1/3 of the world and just said, fuck it. Well, the Mongolian Empire. And I just find that hilarious. He just said, fuck that. But you've also got it from the Egyptian times, women pouring hot wax on their face to reduce wrinkling. It's as old as time itself. There's nothing new to it. So we shouldn't be, as a society, too judgmental, but also as a society push it as a silver bullet, which you find two exaggerations of the truth, understanding that there's no way around a healthy lifestyle. And more importantly, there's no way around internal self-love. Learning to accept yourself, being gentle to yourself, forgiving yourself, embrace your imperfections, and finally, fuck approval. Approval online means nothing. Approval from co-workers, society generally means nothing, because it's just a bunch of people trying to fit in with no real self-confidence of their own. The Kardashians were on the exaggerated big bum look now they're on the more modest look once they've garnered all the attention from the black community. Now that they've gone from reality TV stars to fashion icons will tend to have a more chic look, and they've now decided to go down that route because it fits their narrative and the industry that they're trying to pull into more, while before they were in a reality TV look, which was all about reality TV, that is exaggeration. So let's always bear in mind what we are copying, who we are copying, and why we are copying it before we even engage in copying it or mimicking it in a little bit. I really went on there. There was a lot to say, and I have a bad habit of making these videos too long. This video is probably 30 minutes long plus.
Oh, damn.
Please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Remember to love yourself regardless of what your choice is. And also remember, before I go, that everything requires maintenance. Peace.